Netflix's Ancient Apocalypse is about to reveal things we've never seen before. With Graham Hancock leading the charge, this series is bringing long overdue attention to some of the most mysterious and awe-inspiring ancient sites across the Americas. Hancock has been a pioneer in challenging mainstream archaeology, questioning accepted timelines, and exploring the possibility of advanced civilizations that existed long before the official history books suggest. His investigations have captured the attention of millions, and now, through this Netflix series, his ideas are reaching an even broader audience. I think Netflix and Hancock are doing a tremendous job in shining a light on these ancient mysteries. Their work is vital, sparking new discussions about forgotten chapters of human history. From the pyramids of Teotihuacan to the megaliths of Machu Picchu, these sites demand our attention. But as I watch this series, I can't help but ask, could the ancient civilization Hancock is seeking be the Anunnaki? The Anunnaki, the gods from Sumerian texts, who, according to ancient Mesopotamian mythology, came to Earth thousands of years before humans existed, bringing with them advanced knowledge. Could these very beings, once believed to have shaped early human civilization in Mesopotamia, have crossed the oceans and influenced the construction of these monumental sites in the Americas? Graham Hancock has long proposed the existence of a forgotten civilization, one that may have coexisted with hunter-gatherer societies during the last ice age. Evidence suggests that this advanced civilization was wiped out by cataclysmic events, such as the melting glaciers and rising sea levels that occurred over 12,000 years ago. From the lost continent of Atlantis to the fabled lands of Lemuria and Hyperborea, myths from different parts of the world hint at the possibility of a pre-flood civilization, highly sophisticated and technologically advanced, that predates recorded history. Could the Anunnaki be the civilization Hancock is searching for, the lost architects of these ancient wonders? The parallels between the gods of ancient America and those of Mesopotamia are hard to ignore. In Mesoamerica, we find the god Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent revered by the Aztec and Maya as the bringer of knowledge, civilization, and cosmic order. Meanwhile, in the Andes, the Inca worshipped Viracocha, the creator god who rose from the sacred waters of Lake Titicaca and brought civilization to the people of the Andes. Both of these deities share striking similarities with the Anunnaki, leading us to ask, could Quetzalcoatl and Viracocha be different names for the same ancient gods? Are these spiritual practices and myths echoes of a lost global civilization that once spanned continents? As we explore further, we must also consider the possibility that these gods didn't just spread knowledge, but were physically present on Earth during the early stages of human development. The Sumerian texts recount how the Anunnaki descended from the heavens to establish order and civilization in Mesopotamia. Is it possible that their influence extended much farther than previously thought, leaving traces in the sacred sites of the New World? That's the question we'll explore today. Could figures like Quetzalcoatl and Viracocha, worshipped by the Maya, Aztec, and Inca, be connected to the Anunnaki? Were these deities, revered as gods by civilizations across continents, actually part of the same story? In this documentary, we will delve deep into the myths, structures, and spiritual practices of these ancient American civilizations and see if we can find connections that suggest the Anunnaki may have played a role in shaping these ancient cultures. Could Hancock's lost civilization and the Anunnaki be one and the same? In the ancient beliefs of the Andean peoples, Lake Titicaca was much more than a physical body of water. It was the sacred cradle of life itself. Nestled high in the Andes Mountains on the border of Bolivia and Peru, at a staggering elevation of 3,812 meters, 12,507 feet, it is often called the highest navigable lake in the world. From its deep, pristine waters emerged the great god Viracocha during a time of darkness and chaos, when the world was unformed and empty. It was from this mystical lake, the largest in South America by both volume and surface area, that Viracocha began the act of creation, fashioning the sun, the moon, and the stars, bringing light and order to the cosmos. Once the heavens were illuminated, he breathed life into humanity, setting the foundation for civilization in the Andes. Viracocha's significance extended far beyond his role as the creator of the cosmos. He was the architect of society, law, and spiritual order. To the Inca and earlier cultures, he didn't merely create the physical world, he also established the principles by which humans were to live. His influence spread across the Andes, teaching people how to cultivate the land, craft tools, and live harmoniously with their environment. Legends tell of Viracocha wandering the earth disguised as a humble traveler, imparting knowledge and performing miracles. When his work was done, he departed across the Pacific Ocean, promising to return in times of need. As a result, Viracocha was not only revered as a creator god, but also as the divine lawgiver, whose very essence held the fabric of the world together. But the story of Viracocha does not end with creation. To his followers, he remained an active and guiding force, directly linked to the spiritual practices that governed their lives. The shamans of the Incan and pre-Incan civilizations were the intermediaries between the mortal and divine realms, with Viracocha at the heart of their rituals. These shamans, believed to have the ability to communicate with the spirit world through altered states of consciousness or trance, sought Viracocha's guidance to maintain the balance between the earth and the cosmos. Shamanism in this context was not merely a set of rituals, but a profound spiritual practice involving healing, divination, and the mediation of benevolent and malevolent spirits. But what if these rituals were more than just spiritual communication? Could these shamans have accessed higher realms or even dimensions where the gods themselves resided? Were they able to connect not just with the spirit world, but with actual deities? And could the gods of creation, such as Viracocha, have been physically present during these rituals, walking among the people, guiding them directly in bone and flesh? The ancient Sumerians described a similar phenomenon in their accounts of the Anunnaki, gods who not only ruled from above, but also descended from the heavens to interact directly with humanity. These shamanic rites took place in sacred natural spaces, mountains, rivers, and especially lakes, with Lake Titicaca being the most sacred of all. The lake, fed by over 25 rivers and home to 41 islands, was not merely a body of water, but a direct link to the divine, the place from which life had emerged. In Andean society, these sacred rituals were not just acts of worship, they were essential for maintaining cosmic harmony. The shamans' practices were closely aligned with celestial movements, marking significant events such as solstices and equinoxes. By synchronizing their ceremonies with the movements of the stars and planets, they reflected their belief that human existence was interconnected with the greater workings of the universe. Shamans acted as healers, teachers, and guides, employing techniques like trance induction and the use of medicinal plants to enter the spiritual realm. They believed that by journeying to other worlds or dimensions, they could retrieve lost souls, heal illnesses, and bring back vital knowledge for their communities. But perhaps these journeys were not just spiritual in nature. Could they have been physical contacts with gods, such as Viracocha himself? Could these rituals have bridged the gap between the earthly and divine realms, allowing the shamans to communicate with gods in physical form, much like the ancient Sumerians claimed the Anunnaki had done in Mesopotamia? This practice was a form of spiritual preservation, ensuring that the order established by Viracocha was never disrupted. Through their sacred duties, the shamans upheld the spiritual fabric of Andean society, weaving together the physical and metaphysical realms in a harmonious balance that echoed the creation itself. Further south of Lake Titicaca lies one of the most remarkable achievements of the pre-Inca world, the ancient city of Tiwanaku. Situated near the southern shore of the lake, about 70 kilometers from present-day La Paz, Bolivia, Tiwanaku is one of the largest archaeological sites in South America, covering around 4 square kilometers. This site was not merely a political center, but a profound spiritual hub, inhabited by an estimated 10,000 to 20,000 people around 800 AD. The city thrived due to its complex agro-pastoral economy, supported by trade and advanced agricultural techniques. The temples of Tiwanaku are constructed in perfect alignment with astronomical phenomena, their positioning attuned to the rising and setting of the sun during key celestial moments, like the solstices and equinoxes. Structures such as the Acapana, a terraced platform mound shaped like a half-Andean cross, and the Kalasasaya, a large courtyard outlined by high gateways, reveal the advanced architectural and astronomical knowledge of the Tiwanaku people. The semi-subterranean temple, unique for its north-south axis and walls adorned with tenon heads of various styles, suggests a site reused over time for different ceremonial purposes. These alignments were not coincidental. They reveal the profound connection the people felt between the earth, the heavens, and their gods. Here, the legacy of Viracocha was honored through sacred ceremonies designed to mirror the cosmic order he created. Shamans and priests would gather to perform rituals, invoking his guidance and maintaining the delicate balance between the human world and the cosmos. The spiritual significance of Tiwanaku was amplified by its strategic location between 2 sacred mountains, Pucara and Chuchiquawa, and its proximity to Lake Titicaca, the legendary birthplace of Viracocha and the universe. Aymara legends place Tiwanaku at the center of the world, reflecting its importance as a pilgrimage destination where people came to reaffirm their connection to the divine. Just a short distance from Tiwanaku, the site of Pumapunku stands as an even more mysterious testament to the spiritual and architectural prowess of this ancient civilization. Famous for its massive stone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, Pumapunku was a large earthen platform mound with 3 levels of stone retaining walls, laid out in a T-shaped plan. The precision with which these stones were carved and fitted together without the use of mortar is unparalleled in the ancient world. Notable features include eye-shaped architectural cramps made from a unique copper arsenic nickel bronze alloy used to hold the massive blocks together. The intricate design and massive scale suggest that this was no ordinary structure, but a place of profound significance. Pumapunku, like Tiwanaku, was a spiritual center where the physical world met the divine. The site may have served as a pilgrimage destination, attracting people from across the Andes to marvel at its beauty and partake in religious ceremonies. The precision of the architecture mirrors the precision of the celestial cycles they sought to honor, with the structures likely aligned to mark significant moments in the solar year. The presence of miniature replicas of larger monumental structures indicates a sophisticated understanding of geometry and symbolism. Some scholars believe that the Gateway of the Sun, adorned with carvings that may represent Viracocha, once formed the main entrance to Pumapunku, further emphasizing its spiritual importance. Here, the people of the Andes came to reaffirm their connection to Viracocha. their rituals designed to ensure that the cosmic balance was preserved. Shamans and priests likely conducted elaborate ceremonies, employing techniques like trance induction and the use of medicinal plants to enter the spiritual realm. They believed that by journeying to other worlds or dimensions, they could retrieve lost souls, heal illnesses, and bring back vital knowledge for their communities. The spiritual practices at Pumapunku and Tiwanaku were essential for maintaining cosmic harmony, reflecting a culture deeply attuned to the stars and the greater workings of the universe. In these sacred spaces, the influence of Viracocha was palpable, a reminder of the divine origins of their civilization. Through their spiritual practices and architectural feats, the people of Tiwanaku and Pumapunku sought to maintain the balance that Viracocha had set in motion, ensuring that the world remained in harmony for generations to come. Although the Tiwanaku civilization mysteriously declined around 1000 AD, possibly due to extended droughts affecting their agricultural systems, the legacy of these monumental sites endures. They stand as enduring symbols of a culture whose faith was inextricably linked to the idea that the universe, guided by the hand of Viracocha, was an interconnected whole. While the spiritual legacy of Viracocha permeated the sacred sites of Tiwanaku and Pumapunku, its influence did not fade with the decline of these pre-Incan civilizations. Instead, it became a cornerstone of the Incan Empire, which rose to prominence in the Andes centuries later. The Inca inherited this deep reverence for the cosmic order, embedding it into their own architectural and spiritual practices. As the empire expanded, the Inca constructed monumental structures that not only demonstrated their engineering prowess, but also reflected their unwavering connection to the divine. Among these were the grand fortress of Sacsayhuamán and the breathtaking mountain city of Machu Picchu, two sites that exemplify how the Inca wove together the physical and spiritual worlds. Just as their predecessors did at Lake Titicaca and Tiwanaku, the Inca used these sacred spaces to honor their gods, with rituals and ceremonies aimed at ensuring the continued protection and harmony of their empire. Overlooking the ancient capital of Cusco, Sacsayhuamán stands as one of the Inca's most extraordinary achievements, blending monumental architecture with deep spiritual significance. Constructed during the reign of Pachacuti in the 15th century and his successors, this massive fortress temple complex was built with enormous stone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons and standing more than 4 meters high. These stones were meticulously cut and shaped to fit together so precisely that not even a piece of paper can slip between them, all achieved without the use of mortar. This architectural marvel is not just a testament to the Incas' advanced engineering skills, but also to their deep spiritual beliefs and harmonious integration with the natural landscape. Sacsayhuamán was more than a defensive structure. It was a sacred site where the realms of the physical and the divine intersected. The fortress was designed to mimic the contours of the surrounding mountains and is thought to represent the head of a puma when viewed from above, with Cusco forming the body, a reflection of the Incas' cosmological vision and reverence for sacred animals like the puma, symbolizing power and protection. The zigzagging walls of the fortress, stretching over 540 meters and reaching heights of up to 18 meters, resemble the teeth of the puma, further emphasizing this symbolic connection. The construction of Sacsayhuamán likely had a ritualistic component, with shamans playing an integral role in the consecration of the site. In Inca spirituality, the earth, or Pachamama, was revered as a living entity, and the stones used in such sacred sites were believed to possess spiritual energy. The fortress also housed temples, notably one dedicated to the sun god Inti, and served as a location for significant Inca ceremonies and festivals. Shamans and priests would gather here to perform rituals to honor Viracocha and other deities, invoking their protection over the empire and ensuring the continued harmony between the natural and cosmic orders. The strategic placement of Sacsayhuamán on a steep hill overlooking Cusco provided not only a formidable defensive advantage, but also an ideal location for astronomical observations. The elevated position offered panoramic views of the sky, allowing the Inca to track celestial movements, which they believed were directly linked to the well-being of the empire. Solstices and equinoxes were marked by elaborate ceremonies, with the fortress's design aligning with these key astronomical events. These rituals ensured that the gods were pleased and that the delicate balance between the earthly realm and the cosmos remained intact. Despite its grandeur, much of Sacsayhuamán was dismantled after the Spanish conquest in the 16th century, with the stones repurposed to build the colonial city of Cusco. Today, only the largest stones, too heavy to move, remain as a testament to the ingenuity and spiritual depth of the Inca civilization. The site continues to hold cultural significance, hosting annual reenactments of Inca ceremonies like the Inti Raymi festival, keeping the ancient traditions alive. Moving further into the Andes, another iconic site emerges, Machu Picchu. Perched high among the clouds at an altitude of over 2,400 meters or 7,970 feet, this ancient city is not just a masterpiece of engineering, but also a spiritual retreat likely reserved for the Incan elite. Machu Picchu, with its terraced fields, intricately carved stone structures, and breathtaking vistas, was meticulously designed to integrate seamlessly with the surrounding landscape. This integration reflects the Incas' profound reverence for the natural world and their deep connection to the divine. Like Sacsayhuamán, Machu Picchu is closely aligned with celestial events, particularly the solstices. The city's architecture demonstrates the Incas' advanced understanding of astronomy and cosmology. During the winter solstice, the Intihuatana stone, often referred to as the hitching post of the sun, casts a precise shadow that aligns with surrounding mountains and the sky. This sacred stone was carved with great care and is believed to have been used for astronomical observations, symbolically tying the sun to the earth during solstices. Such alignments suggest that Machu Picchu was a place where the movements of the heavens were closely monitored and celebrated. The spiritual significance of these astronomical alignments highlights the Incas' belief that they were part of a greater cosmic cycle. By honoring the sun and the stars, they sought to ensure the continued prosperity of their civilization. The city was constructed using polished, dry stone walls, a testament to the Incas' masterful stone masonry. The stones were cut to fit together so precisely that no mortar was needed, and the structures have withstood centuries of earthquakes and natural erosion. Shamanism, though woven into the everyday life of the Inca, likely played a particularly important role at Machu Picchu. Priests and spiritual leaders would have conducted rituals in the city's temples, invoking the power of Viracocha and other deities to maintain harmony between the physical and spiritual realms. The Temple of the Sun and the Temple of the Three Windows are among the primary structures where such ceremonies may have taken place. The city's remote and elevated location, nestled among sacred mountains like Huayna Picchu and Machu Picchu itself, further reinforces its role as a spiritual sanctuary. Here, the elite could retreat to perform rituals, meditate, and connect with the divine forces that governed their world. The architecture of Machu Picchu also reveals the Incas' sophisticated engineering skills. Built on a mountain ridge, the city features terraces layered with stone chips, sand, and topsoil to prevent erosion and manage water drainage. This design protected the city from heavy rainfall and potential landslides, showcasing the Incas' ability to adapt their constructions to the challenging Andean environment. Access to Machu Picchu was intentionally difficult, emphasizing its exclusivity and sacredness. The Inca road system included routes to the city, but it was isolated enough to remain hidden from the Spanish conquistadors during their conquest. This seclusion allowed Machu Picchu to remain relatively untouched until its rediscovery in 1911. Today, visitors reach the site via train journeys through the Urubamba Valley or by trekking the historic Inca Trail, echoing the ancient pilgrimage routes once used by the Inca themselves. As the Inca Empire honored the divine forces of the natural world through monumental structures like Sacsayhuamán and Machu Picchu, their belief in a god who shaped the cosmos and brought civilization to humanity resonates with similar myths found far to the north, in the ancient lands of Mesoamerica. There, the Aztec and Maya revered Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god, whose legacy, like that of Viracocha, intertwined the spiritual and cultural fabric of their civilizations. Both Viracocha and Quetzalcoatl were believed to have emerged in a time of darkness and chaos, bringing light, order, and knowledge to a disordered world. In the Andes, Viracocha rose from the sacred waters of Lake Titicaca and created the sun, moon, and stars, illuminating the cosmos and bestowing humanity with the wisdom needed to build and sustain civilization. Similarly, Quetzalcoatl, known to the Aztecs and Maya as the god of wind, wisdom, and civilization, is credited with giving humanity the tools to cultivate the earth, develop calendars, and unlock the secrets of the heavens. The parallels between these two deities invite compelling questions. Are we dealing with the same gods? Could Viracocha and Quetzalcoatl be different names for the same entity, worshipped by distant civilizations yet embodying the same cosmic role? Or might these be separate gods, each guiding their respective cultures toward progress, who perhaps share an origin much older than even the Inca or Aztec could have imagined? Could they be echoes of ancient beings, deities who once roamed the earth in the distant past, possibly originating from the same Mesopotamian pantheon that included the Anunnaki, the gods who, according to ancient Sumerian texts, descended from the heavens in search of minerals and riches? Such questions challenge us to reconsider the ancient connections between civilizations that were separated by vast distances but seem to share a strikingly similar mythological framework. Just as Viracocha imparted the secrets of agriculture, astronomy, and writing to the people of the Andes, Quetzalcoatl bestowed the same gifts to the Mesoamerican cultures of the Aztec and Maya. His form, a feathered serpent, embodied the balance between the earth, symbolized by the serpent, and the heavens, represented by the feathers, illustrating a sacred duality that mirrored the Andean reverence for the harmony between the natural and cosmic worlds. In the heart of Mesoamerica, the city of Teotihuacan stands as a monumental testament to the reverence for Quetzalcoatl and the celestial order he embodied. Located in the basin of central Mexico, Teotihuacan was the largest and most influential city in the history of the New World during Mesoamerica's Golden Age, the classic period of the first millennium BCE. Its monumental architecture, including the Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, and the Temple of Quetzalcoatl, showcases the architectural and astronomical prowess of its inhabitants. The Temple of Quetzalcoatl, also known as the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, constructed around 200 BCE, is richly decorated with sculptures of feathered serpents and Tlaloc-like heads, representing both the god of wind and learning and the god of rain and fertility. This temple served as a focal point for religious ceremonies associated with themes of creation, warfare, and agricultural renewal, reflecting the dual aspects of Quetzalcoatl as both a creator and sustainer. Teotihuacan's urban planning emphasizes the importance of cosmic alignment in Mesoamerican spirituality. The city's precise grid layout, oriented 15.5 degrees east of true north, and the alignment of its major structures with celestial events suggest that astronomical observations were integral to its design. The Avenue of the Dead, a 40-meter wide and 3.2-kilometer-long thoroughfare, is lined with temples and ceremonial precincts that align with the sun during solstices and with the Pleiades constellation. This emphasis on celestial alignment indicates that calendar dates were crucial in rituals, and the positioning of temples and pyramids was likely intended to synchronize religious ceremonies with astronomical events. Much like the Inca, who aligned their cities and ceremonies with the cosmos to honor Viracocha, the civilizations of Mesoamerica, including the Aztec and Maya, constructed their sacred spaces to reflect the cosmic forces embodied by Quetzalcoatl. The Temple of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza, for example, is another architectural marvel that demonstrates this celestial alignment. During the equinoxes, the setting sun casts a shadow on the temple's staircase, creating the illusion of a serpent descending, a direct representation of Kukulkan, the Maya equivalent of Quetzalcoatl. These civilizations thrived on their connection to the heavens, believing that through their spiritual practices and rituals, they could maintain harmony between the earthly and cosmic realms, just as Quetzalcoatl had taught them. In the Maya world, this reverence for the cosmos was epitomized by the great Maya ruler, Kinich Janab Pakal, commonly known as Pakal the Great. Pakal, who ruled the city-state of Palenque for nearly 70 years, from 615 BCE to 683 BCE, left behind a legacy that not only showcased the Mayas' architectural brilliance, but also their profound connection to the cosmos. Pakal's tomb, discovered in the Temple of the Inscriptions, is a stunning example of this cosmic reverence. The lid of his sarcophagus famously depicts him in a position that some interpret as his journey into the underworld or his ascent into the heavens, symbolizing the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth that was central to Maya cosmology. This depiction aligns Pakal with the divine, portraying him as a ruler who bridged the mortal and celestial realms, much like Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan. His tomb's intricate carvings show him at the center of a cosmic tree, believed to represent the axis mundi that connects the heavens, earth, and underworld, symbolizing the Mayas' deep belief in cosmic cycles and their ruler's divine role in maintaining the balance between these realms. In Pakal, we see a reflection of Quetzalcoatl's dual role as both a ruler and a god, embodying wisdom and cosmic harmony. In both civilizations, shamanic practices played a central role in maintaining this cosmic balance. Among the Aztecs, shamans performed sacred ceremonies in honor of Quetzalcoatl, invoking his wisdom and guidance to ensure the continuation of the world. Rituals dedicated to Quetzalcoatl often involved offerings to sustain the cosmos, with his preference said to be for flowers, butterflies, and incense rather than the human sacrifices demanded by other deities. His role as a moral guide distinguished him from many of the bloodthirsty gods of the Aztec pantheon, reflecting his connection to knowledge, peace, and art. In the Maya world, where Quetzalcoatl was known as Kukulkan, shamanic rituals took on a profoundly astronomical dimension. The Maya shamans, renowned for their astronomical precision, performed ceremonies that aligned with the solar calendar and key celestial events, such as the equinoxes. These rituals often involved the use of hallucinogenic plants, allowing the shamans to enter altered states of consciousness, commune with the gods, and gain knowledge from the spiritual realm. Through their spiritual journeys, they believed they could restore harmony and bring back vital wisdom to ensure the well-being of their communities. As in the Andes, where the shamans served as spiritual advisors to rulers, the shamans of Mesoamerica were more than religious figures. They were also political advisors, mediating between the divine and mortal realms. They interpreted the will of the gods, offering guidance on matters of governance and societal order. In both the Aztec and Maya civilizations, Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan were seen as divine mentors to the rulers, helping them to lead in accordance with cosmic principles, ensuring that their leadership reflected the will of the gods. These civilizations thrived on their astronomical marvels of Teotihuacan and other Mesoamerican sites, standing as testaments to the importance of Quetzalcoatl in these civilizations. By constructing monumental structures that mirrored the heavens, they sought to ensure the favor of the gods and the fertility of the land. This practice was a common theme among Mesoamerican civilizations, highlighting a shared cultural value placed on harmony between humanity and the cosmos. Could these gods, Viracocha and Quetzalcoatl, be echoes of an even more ancient tradition, possibly linked to the Anunnaki, who are said to have once come to Earth in search of wealth and minerals? Or do they represent unique forms of divine beings, shaped by the cultures that worshipped them, yet connected through a shared legacy of wisdom, civilization, and cosmic balance? By examining the sacred symbols left by these ancient civilizations, we discover clues that continually challenge our understanding of their origins and purposes. One of these enigmatic symbols is the Paracas Candelabra, a massive geoglyph etched into a hillside along the coast of Peru, facing the Pacific Ocean. Measuring approximately 180 meters or 600 feet in length and carved 2 feet into the soil, this colossal figure is visible from as far as 19 kilometers or 12 miles out at sea. Created around 200 BCE by the Paracas culture, evidenced by pottery fragments analyzed by archaeologist Dr. Maria Reike, the geoglyph has remained virtually intact for over 2 millennia, thanks to the region's arid climate and the natural crust formed by sea salt, sun, and wind. The design of the Paracas Candelabra resembles a giant trident or forked staff, its precise lines and geometric accuracy showcasing the advanced knowledge and skills of the Paracas people. Renowned for their astronomical observations and spiritual practices, these ancient inhabitants often constructed their temples and sacred sites near natural features like oceans, mountains, and valleys, places they considered alive and spiritually significant. The placement of the candelabra facing the ocean may reflect this reverence for nature and the cosmos, potentially serving as a navigational aid for sailors or as a ritual site aligned with celestial events. Intriguingly, the Paracas Candelabra bears a striking resemblance to the lightning bolts or forked staffs associated with ancient storm gods such as Adad in Mesopotamian mythology and Teshub in the Hurrian and Hittite pantheons. Adad, known as the Mesopotamian weather god, was associated with thunder, lightning, and storms, wielding a forked lightning bolt as a symbol of his power over the natural elements. Similarly, Teshub, the Hurrian weather god and head of the Hurrian pantheon, was often depicted holding a bundle of lightning. These deities were revered not only for their control over destructive storms, but also for their ability to bring fertility to the land through rain, highlighting the dual nature of their dominion over the forces of nature. This association between storm gods and lightning bolts extends into the Hebrew Bible, with early depictions of Yahweh, the state god of the ancient kingdoms of Israel and Judah. Some scholars suggest that Yahweh may have originated as a minor deity in the Canaanite pantheon, where El was the supreme deity. Early references to Yahweh point to his possible role as a god of metallurgy, a field deeply connected to transformative fire and elemental forces. This connection is significant, as ancient metalworkers often viewed smelting and forging as divine acts, mirroring the storm god's harnessing of the chaotic power of the skies. Yahweh was also linked to thunder, lightning, and storms, appearing in early biblical texts as a deity who controls the weather to demonstrate his power, much like Adad and Teshub. Could the Paracas Candelabra, with its forked shape resembling the lightning bolts wielded by these storm gods, be an echo of an even more ancient iconography? To understand the potential origins of this symbol, we must look back to the earliest known civilization, Sumer. According to ancient Sumerian tablets such as Enki and the World Order, and the legendary Sumerian king list, the gods, known as the Anunnaki, were said to have arrived on Earth long before the existence of humanity. These gods, descending from the heavens, were believed to have established order and civilization thousands of years before the first human beings walked the Earth. The Anunnaki in these texts were portrayed as the overseers of creation, imposing cosmic order and preparing the Earth for the arrival of humankind. They were the ones who separated the heavens from the earth and defined the roles of the stars, rivers, and mountains. Long before humans had built cities, the Anunnaki ruled the earth. It is from this primordial narrative that the city of Ur, one of Sumer's most ancient urban centers, rose to prominence under the watchful gaze of the moon god, Nana, also called Sin, one of the leading deities of the Anunnaki pantheon. The importance of Ur extends far beyond its earthly achievements. This city, deeply connected to the Anunnaki, is also said to be the home of Abraham, the patriarch of Judaism, raising profound questions about the origins of monotheism. If Abraham was born in the city ruled by Nana, could the monotheistic tradition of Yahweh have roots in these earlier Sumerian beliefs? The answer to this question, as we have already seen in other videos, is yes. If we can trace the origins of monotheism back to Sumer, through Abraham and the city of Ur, might we also be able to trace the origins of the gods from American and Mesoamerican cultures to the same source? Could the worship of Viracocha, Quetzalcoatl, and the other gods of the New World share a common origin in the Anunnaki, passed down through millennia and adapted to new environments and cultural contexts? Could these gods be connected to the myths of Lemuria, Atlantis, or Hyperborea, legendary pre-flood civilizations that were said to possess high levels of technological advancement, destroyed in cataclysms long before the last ice age? Could the ancient pre-flood civilization linked to the Anunnaki be the lost civilization that Graham Hancock is searching for in his investigations? A civilization that spread its influence across the globe before disappearing beneath the waves of history, leaving behind only cryptic symbols like the Paracas Candelabra to hint at their existence. While this remains speculative, what we do know is that after the Younger Dryas, which ended around 11,600 years ago, new cultures began to emerge across the globe. One of the most fascinating of these is the Caral-Supe civilization, which according to traditional history, is the oldest known civilization in the Americas. According to traditional science, Caral-Supe flourished around 2600 BCE, long before the rise of the Inca, Maya, and Aztec civilizations, which developed much later. Located in the Supe Valley of Peru, the Caral-Supe civilization represents the very beginning of complex society in the Americas. With no written language and no evidence of warfare, Caral-Supe challenges many assumptions about how early civilizations developed, especially when compared to their contemporaries in Mesopotamia or Egypt. Caral-Supe's monumental structures, pyramidal temples, sunken circular plazas, and large public buildings closely resemble the ziggurats of Mesopotamia or the pyramids of Egypt, despite the vast geographic separation. The main temple complex, known as the Pyramid Mare, stands 20 meters high and is built with stones weighing over 500 kilograms each. These stones were meticulously cut and placed, demonstrating advanced architectural skills. Inside the pyramid, small rooms likely used for religious ceremonies have been discovered, supporting theories about the spiritual significance of these structures. Among the artifacts uncovered at Caral-Supe is a clay figurine with long hair, a colorful costume, and necklaces. This figurine bears the characteristics of a shaman from that period, believed to have been able to communicate with the gods. The presence of such a figurine suggests that shamanic practices played a role in the spiritual life of Caral-Supe's inhabitants. Shamans likely served as intermediaries between the people and the divine, performing rituals and ceremonies to maintain harmony with the natural and cosmic worlds. Despite lacking written records to fully understand their spiritual beliefs, archaeological evidence suggests that Caral-Supe was a highly organized and spiritually oriented society. The discovery of flutes made from pelican and condor bones, intricate textiles, and ceremonial complexes points to a culture that placed significant emphasis on ritual and cosmological alignment. In one of the pyramids, archaeologists found 37 cornets made of deer and llama bones and 32 flutes, indicating the importance of music in their ceremonial practices. The emphasis on music and the arts suggests a culture deeply connected to communal expression and spiritual celebration. Some interesting and unique building techniques were used in the pyramid structures. Located in a seismic area, the builders wove string between the stones inside the walls. Stones were placed inside nets made of plant fiber before being stacked. It's believed that such nets acted as shock absorbers during earthquakes, suggesting that these people had already developed anti-seismic building methods. This innovation highlights their advanced understanding of engineering and their ability to adapt to their environment. Some archaeologists speculate that the pyramidal structures in Caral may have been used for religious or astronomical purposes, possibly aligning with celestial events, much like the ziggurats of Sumer or the pyramids of Egypt. These structures may have served as centers for the observation of astronomical phenomena, used to connect with the cosmos or mark significant seasonal changes, mirroring practices seen in other ancient civilizations. The sunken circular plazas could have been venues for communal gatherings, rituals, or astronomical observations. This raises intriguing questions. Could the Caral-Supe civilization have inherited some form of ancient knowledge passed down from much older civilizations? Perhaps the survivors of an earlier, more advanced culture preserved this knowledge through oral traditions or sacred rituals, which eventually manifested in the construction of these pyramidal structures. The similarities in architectural styles suggest a possible connection or a shared understanding of monument building that transcends continental boundaries. Could the Caral-Supe people have been influenced by remnants of a previous lost civilization that thrived before the Younger Dryas? If theories about a pre-flood civilization are considered, Caral-Supe may have been one of the first cultures in the Americas to rise from the ashes of this older society. Perhaps they inherited advanced knowledge of architecture, agriculture, and spirituality, allowing them to create a sophisticated and organized society at a time when other cultures in the region were still relatively nomadic. What is particularly fascinating is that Caral-Supe existed thousands of years before the Inca, yet its pyramidal structures bear a striking resemblance to those built by later Mesoamerican civilizations, like the Maya and Aztec. This suggests that the tradition of building monumental pyramids may have deeper, more ancient roots in the Americas, possibly tied to forgotten cultures or even a global architectural trend linked to cosmic beliefs. The geoglyph discovered near Caral, a human face with long streaming hair and a gaping mouth, echoes artistic expressions found in other ancient cultures, potentially indicating shared symbolic meanings or spiritual concepts. While much about Caral-Supe remains a mystery, it provides a glimpse into the early development of complex societies in the New World. Could this society have been the heir to an older tradition that survived a global cataclysm? Did they carry forward knowledge passed down from their ancestors? Ancestors who may have been connected to the same lost civilization that some theorists are seeking? The pyramidal structures of Caral, standing silent for millennia, may hold the key to unraveling the ancient past of the Americas, reminding us that history is often far more complex than we realize. But if Caral-Supe is, according to traditional history, the first known civilization in the Americas, could there be other traces left behind by even earlier cultures? Are there other enigmatic sites in the Americas that suggest connections to an even older time? Discoveries like the Chaco Canyon culture in North America and the geoglyphs in the Amazon rainforest point to the possibility that other ancient societies may have also had a complex understanding of astronomy, geometry, and cosmic order, linking them to these ancient civilizations. In the arid and rugged landscapes of the American Southwest lies Chaco Canyon, one of the most significant ancient sites in North America. Situated in what is now northwestern New Mexico, between Albuquerque and Farmington, Chaco Canyon is a remote canyon carved by the Chaco Wash. This UNESCO World Heritage Site contains the most sweeping collection of ancient ruins north of Mexico, preserving one of the most important pre-Columbian cultural and historical areas in the United States. Between 900 and 1150 BCE, Chaco Canyon was a major cultural, political, and ceremonial center for the ancestral Puebloans, thriving amidst a challenging environment. This ancient civilization left behind monumental architecture, complex social structures, and a deep connection to the cosmos, making Chaco Canyon a site of immense cultural and spiritual significance. The first evidence of long-term human settlement in Chaco Canyon dates back to the 3rd century CE, with the construction of partially subterranean homes known as pit houses. Over time, these evolved into larger villages, and by the 8th century, single-story multi-room buildings began to appear among the pit house communities. However, around 850 BCE, a remarkable architectural transformation occurred. The ancestral Puebloans began constructing great houses, colossal sandstone masonry structures that used thick walls to support multiple stories and hundreds of rooms. These structures, such as Pueblo Bonito, Quetzalcoatl, and Casa Rinconada, reveal a sophisticated understanding of both architecture and astronomy. The construction of these great houses required an enormous amount of resources, including sandstone, water, and timber. Chacons quarried sandstone blocks from the canyon walls and shaped them using stone tools. Water, essential for making mud mortar and plaster, was scarce and had to be collected from brief and often torrential summer thunderstorms. Timber was perhaps the most challenging resource to obtain. As local sources dwindled due to deforestation and climatic changes, Chacons transported approximately 200,000 coniferous trees from distant mountain ranges up to 70 miles away, all without the use of draft animals or the wheel. This monumental effort underscores the complexity and organizational capabilities of Chacoan society. The great houses were meticulously planned and constructed using a core and veneer masonry technique. An inner core of roughly hewn sandstone was held together with mud mortar, and thinner facing stones formed a veneer. Walls were often several feet thick at the base, tapering as they rose to reduce weight, indicating that builders planned for multiple stories from the outset. These buildings were carefully oriented and aligned to capture solar and lunar cycles, requiring generations of astronomical observations and skillfully coordinated construction. One of the most remarkable features of Chaco Canyon is its alignment with celestial bodies. Many structures, including the Great Kivas, large, round subterranean chambers used for religious ceremonies and gatherings, are oriented to capture the sun's light during solstices and equinoxes. For example, during the summer solstice, the rising sun shines directly through a series of aligned windows or doors in certain great houses, creating dramatic displays of light and shadow. The Sun Dagger petroglyph on Fajada Butte is another stunning testament to the Chacoans' astronomical knowledge. On solstices and equinoxes, shafts of sunlight pass through precisely positioned rock slabs to illuminate specific parts of the petroglyph, marking the passage of time and the changing seasons. In addition to solar alignments, Chaco Canyon also features lunar alignments. The Chacoans tracked the major lunar standstill, a rare astronomical event that occurs every 18.6 years when the moon reaches its southernmost and northernmost positions in the sky. The Great Kiva at Casa Rinconada, for instance, is aligned with the moon during this event, demonstrating the complex and deliberate nature of their architectural planning. These celestial alignments suggest that Chaco Canyon was a place where the movement of heavenly bodies played a central role in spiritual and ceremonial life. Chacoans also constructed an elaborate system of roads, radiating outward from the canyon to connect with over 200 outlying communities spread across an area larger than England. These roads were remarkably straight, even when traversing difficult terrain, and some were up to 30 feet wide. The roads likely served both practical and ceremonial purposes, facilitating trade and pilgrimages. Trade networks extended far beyond the region, as evidenced by the discovery of exotic goods such as seashells from the Gulf of California, copper bells, cacao from Mesoamerica, and scarlet macaws. These items indicate that Chaco Canyon was a hub of cultural exchange and ritual activity. Agriculture was essential to sustain the Chacoan population, despite the harsh environment. At an elevation of approximately 2 kilometers, the canyon experiences extreme temperature fluctuations and receives minimal rainfall. The Chacoans employed dry farming techniques, terraced lands, and irrigation systems to cultivate corn, beans, and squash, the Mesoamerican triumvirate. However, local resources were insufficient to support the large population and monumental construction projects, so they relied heavily on trade to import food and materials. The Kivas, particularly the Great Kivas, were the spiritual heart of Chacoan society. These spaces were likely used for communal ceremonies, political meetings, and social gatherings. The design of the Kivas, often subterranean and circular, symbolized the connection between the earth and the sky, reflecting the Chacoans' cosmology. Rituals performed within these sacred spaces were believed to maintain the cosmic balance. The presence of cacao residue on pottery shards suggests that rituals may have included the consumption of ceremonial beverages, reflecting influences from Mesoamerican cultures. Around 1130 BCE, construction in Chaco Canyon ceased, coinciding with the beginning of a severe 50-year drought in the San Juan Basin. Climate change, deforestation, and overuse of resources likely contributed to the decline of Chacoan society. Evidence of sealed-off great house doors and burned kivas suggests a deliberate closure of these sacred spaces, possibly reflecting a spiritual acceptance of the changing circumstances. The Chacoans migrated to surrounding regions with less marginal environments, and by the late 12th century, the canyon was largely abandoned. Today, Chaco Canyon remains a site of immense archaeological and cultural significance. The ruins are considered sacred ancestral homelands by the Hopi and Pueblo people, who maintain oral histories of their migration from Chaco and their spiritual connection to the land. Preservation efforts continue to protect the fragile sites, which are threatened by erosion and tourism. Chaco Culture National Historical Park is on the trails of the ancients' byway, allowing visitors to explore and appreciate the legacy of this remarkable civilization. Chaco Canyon's monumental architecture, intricate knowledge of astronomy, and extensive trade networks make it one of the most extraordinary sites in North American archaeology. It offers a glimpse into a society that believed deeply in the cosmic order and sought to reflect that order in the very structures they built and the rituals they performed. Interestingly, the quest to connect with cosmic or spiritual forces through architecture is not unique to North America. Thousands of miles away, the geoglyphs of Acre, Brazil, reveal a similar narrative of human ingenuity and spiritual reverence. Discovered through satellite imaging and exposed by deforestation, these massive geometric earthworks, comprising squares, circles, rectangles, and other intricate shapes, offer a remarkable glimpse into an ancient society that flourished in the Amazon long before European colonization. With over 450 geoglyphs identified, though recent studies suggest there may be as many as 800, covering an area of around 13,000 square kilometers, these structures appear to have served ceremonial, symbolic, or ritualistic purposes. They point to a society with a deep understanding of geometry, engineering, and possibly astronomy. The sheer size and precision of the Acre geoglyphs suggest that the people who built them possessed advanced knowledge of spatial design and mathematical calculations. Some of the earthworks are as large as 300 meters in diameter, with ditches up to 11 meters wide and originally up to 2 meters deep before sedimentation. The geometric designs include single and concentric circles, squares, rectangles, ellipses, and even octagons, sometimes interconnected by straight ditches and earthen pathways. This level of geometric precision, combined with the scale of construction, reflects a highly organized society capable of mobilizing large groups for public works and ceremonial activities, all without the use of metal tools or draft animals. The construction techniques and morphology of these structures indicate a remarkable technological innovation by pre-colonial indigenous peoples. The builders likely used sophisticated measuring instruments and had a profound understanding of engineering and drainage systems, as many geoglyphs are strategically located between streams, creek springs, and wetlands associated with the Acre and Equirus rivers. Their ability to modify the landscape in such a significant and enduring way demonstrates considerable human agency and challenges previous notions of the Amazon as an untouched wilderness. Although no direct evidence yet links the geoglyphs to astronomical alignments, some researchers propose that the builders may have used them to track celestial events or mark significant seasonal changes. This is a pattern seen in other ancient cultures around the world that built large-scale geometric structures with astronomical significance, such as the Nazca lines in Peru. The geometric patterns may have acted as doors and paths for communication with various beings of the environment, such as ancestor spirits, animals, and celestial bodies. Contemporary indigenous peoples of Acre still protect these sites as sacred places, avoiding their use for mundane activities like housing or agriculture, which underscores their continued cultural and spiritual significance. Contrary to previous assumptions that the Amazon was largely uninhabited by complex societies before European contact, the discovery and study of these geoglyphs indicate the existence of a sophisticated, large-scale civilization in the heart of the rainforest. Archaeological estimates suggest that the geoglyphs were constructed between 200 BCE and 1300 CE, with some evidence of human activity dating back to 10,000 years ago. The extensive scattering of these structures across eastern Acre points to significant cultural exchange and interaction among indigenous groups during the pre-colonial period. Some research suggests possible correlations with the Arawak and Takana peoples who inhabited the region. The cultural and ceremonial significance of the Acre geoglyphs remains a subject of ongoing research and debate. Some scholars theorize that they were used for ceremonial processions, ritual gatherings, or as sacred spaces dedicated to spiritual practices. The repetition of certain geometric shapes across multiple sites implies consistent symbolic or ritualistic meanings, possibly related to cycles of nature, agricultural practices, or cosmological beliefs. The geometric patterns inspired by characteristics and skin patterns of animals are still present in the modern pottery, fabrics, jewelry, and arts of indigenous Amazonian peoples, indicating a deep-rooted cultural continuity. Beyond their ceremonial importance, the geoglyphs have sparked discussions about the level of agricultural and engineering knowledge possessed by ancient Amazonian cultures. Archaeologists have found evidence of raised fields, canals, and other earthworks that suggest the inhabitants not only shaped their environment, but did so with a high degree of sophistication and sustainability. The construction of these monumental earthworks required extensive knowledge of engineering techniques related to geometry and drainage, especially given their locations on elevated plateaus and edges overlooking valleys. This challenges the traditional view of pre-Columbian societies in the Amazon as small, isolated communities with minimal impact on their environment. But this begs a much larger question. Could the Amazon, and perhaps the Americas in general, have been home to a series of ancient civilizations that once thrived here, now lost to time? If cultures as advanced as those responsible for the geoglyphs of Acre could shape the landscape and build monumental structures, it raises the possibility that other sophisticated societies may have existed across the Amazon and beyond, potentially leaving behind myths, legends, and traces of lost cities that continue to fuel speculation today. One of the most enduring legends associated with ancient civilizations in the Amazon is the story of El Dorado, the fabled City of Gold. This legend has captivated explorers, historians, and archaeologists for centuries. El Dorado was originally believed to be a place of immense wealth, where a golden king would cover himself in gold dust and dive into a sacred lake during rituals. Over time, this story grew, evolving into the idea of a vast, prosperous civilization hidden deep in the Amazon jungle, untouched by outside influence and containing unimaginable riches. El Dorado, literally meaning the Gilded One, originally referred to a ritual in which a king or chief would cover himself in gold dust and dive into a sacred lake as an offering to the gods. Over time, this story evolved into something much larger, the idea of a vast, hidden city filled with gold and unimaginable wealth, lying deep within the unexplored jungles of the Americas. European explorers in the 16th and 17th centuries were consumed by the quest to find El Dorado, launching numerous expeditions in search of this fabled city. While the legend of El Dorado has been most strongly associated with the Amazon, it is important to remember that the probable location of this mythical city has been debated for centuries. Many believed it could be located somewhere in South America, where the Inca civilization once reigned, or further north, where the Maya and Aztec civilizations flourished. The Inca Empire, which stretched across much of the Andes from modern-day Peru to Chile, was renowned for its wealth and monumental architecture. At the height of its power, the Inca controlled vast resources, including gold, which they used not only for jewelry and adornments, but also in their religious ceremonies. The legendary city of Paititi, sometimes linked to El Dorado, is believed by some to be a hidden Inca city deep in the Amazon jungle, where the last Incan rulers may have fled after the Spanish conquest, taking their riches with them. Further north, the Maya and Aztec civilizations in Mesoamerica were also known for their wealth, artistry, and advanced understanding of the cosmos. The Aztecs, in particular, were famed for their immense wealth in gold, much of which was seized by the Spanish conquistadors following the fall of Tenochtitlan. The Maya, whose empire stretched across modern-day Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and Belize, were master astronomers, builders, and artists, leaving behind monumental cities such as Tikal, Chichen Itza, and Palenque. Many of the El Dorado expeditions focused on the regions controlled by these powerful civilizations. In fact, the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, with its grand temples, palaces, and canals, must have seemed like El Dorado to the first European explorers. This city, which was eventually destroyed by the Spanish, was a marvel of engineering and wealth. Could it be that the idea of El Dorado was inspired by the magnificent cities of the Aztec, Maya, and Inca? And what if the legend of the lost city of El Dorado is a story that speaks of a prosperous time when an advanced civilization brought gold to the known New World? Could we discover an ancient civilization? If we consider the possibilities of the Anunnaki theory, could we find gold in the Americas? Could the Americas have been a refuge for the Anunnaki? The Maya, a civilization renowned for their profound knowledge of astronomy, were especially fascinated by eclipses. Their obsession with the skies went beyond mere observation. For the Maya, eclipses were deeply tied to spiritual and mythological beliefs, often invoking a sense of awe and fear. They meticulously recorded astronomical events, including solar and lunar eclipses, in their sacred texts, such as the Dresden Codex, which includes some of the most comprehensive records of Maya celestial observations. In Maya cosmology, an eclipse was more than a natural event. It was seen as a cosmic battle, often interpreted as the temporary defeat of the sun or moon by underworld forces. The Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Quiché Maya, reflects on the cosmic struggles between gods, the creation of the world, and the cycles of life and death that governed the universe. While the Popol Vuh does not explicitly explain the concept of eclipses, its narrative of celestial conflict, with the hero twins battling the lords of the underworld, offers insight into how the Maya may have viewed these dark moments in the sky. To the Maya, eclipses were believed to herald major transformations, often with negative consequences, as these events were considered bad omens. They believed that the gods were directly involved in these occurrences. One interpretation of an eclipse was that it represented the death or disappearance of a god. This celestial event could symbolize the end of a cycle of prosperity, signaling famine, political upheaval, or even the fall of a civilization. The Dresden Codex also provides insight into how the Maya interpreted the skies, using mathematical precision to predict future eclipses. In this codex, eclipses are portrayed with foreboding imagery, often associated with serpents, darkness, and devouring. The codex also contains glyphs that point to the sacredness of such events, suggesting that these were times when the natural order was temporarily thrown into chaos, requiring rituals to restore cosmic balance. Interestingly, there is a profound connection between eclipses and the death of a god in Maya belief, which leads us to wonder, could the Mayas' understanding of eclipses have been influenced by the memory of a civilization's end? Was there a lost civilization that had once flourished, only to disappear, with the eclipse serving as a symbol of their downfall? This idea draws a parallel to the Anunnaki, where the gods left Earth after a catastrophic event, potentially leaving behind only traces of their existence and knowledge. The Maya also believed that an eclipse could signify the return of the underworld or death gods. Rituals during these times were especially important to ward off the dangers associated with eclipses. The Popol Vuh's story of Hunahpu and Xbalanque, the hero twins, could be seen as a metaphor for this struggle. where the twins defeat the underworld forces, symbolizing the victory of light over darkness, a theme that resonates with their fear of eclipses. But could the Maya have been influenced by older, more ancient traditions that echoed through time, from civilizations long gone? If we consider the Anunnaki theory, we might ask, did the departure of the Anunnaki gods coincide with a cosmic event like an eclipse, marking the end of their influence on Earth? It is compelling to consider the idea that the Anunnaki, after their alleged cataclysmic intervention in Sodom and Gomorrah, departed from Earth, leaving behind only a few of their kin. According to some interpretations of ancient Mesopotamian texts, Marduk remained in Mesopotamia, but what of other gods, such as Nanar, the moon god, or Adad Teshub, the god of storms? Could these deities, tied to lunar and cosmic phenomena, have crossed the oceans to find a new home in the Americas, bringing their celestial knowledge to the Maya, Inca, and Aztec? If this is the case, it may explain why the Maya and other ancient civilizations of the Americas were so focused on astronomy and celestial events like eclipses. Their shamanic rituals, often involving hallucinogenic plants and deep spiritual journeys, could have been a way to access the spiritual realm, or even to connect with these ancient gods directly. Was it possible that Thoth, the Atlantean god of wisdom, often linked to Hermes Trismegistus in Egyptian mythology, passed on his knowledge of the occult and spiritual realms to the indigenous peoples of the Americas? Thoth, as some legends claim, fled Atlantis before its destruction, and it's said he brought his wisdom to the ancient peoples of Egypt and perhaps other parts of the world. Could he or other ancient figures have traveled further, teaching shamans in the Americas how to access higher dimensions and connect with the spiritual realm? The Maya believed that eclipses signaled a profound disturbance in the order of the cosmos, a time when the gods could be accessed, but also a time when they were most vulnerable. Was this vulnerability a remnant of their own mythic history, where gods were overthrown, civilizations fell, and powerful forces left Earth behind? If the Anunnaki theory holds, we must consider the possibility that some of the ancient gods like Ninurta, Nanar, Ningishida, among others, may have stayed behind after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, bringing their divine wisdom and influence to the peoples of the Americas. Although we cannot firmly assert that these are the same entities and gods, the evidence continues to accumulate. Thus, after some time in the Americas, perhaps Nanar returned to the Middle East, and upon his arrival, he may have learned about the events involving the worship of Marduk and the birth of the Messiah, which was not approved by the clan of his father Enlil in the first region. Perhaps at this moment, he tried to repatriate under the guise of the waning moon the descendants of the lands that had been promised to him. Perhaps, and only perhaps, this was the moment when the moon positioned itself before the sun. And so, an era came to an end. If you found this interesting, watch this other video that explores the theories following the cataclysm on the Sinai Peninsula. If you'd prefer to understand the story from the beginning, watch this video. But if you're looking for proof of the truth behind this topic, check out this playlist. I'll see you in the next video.